Hello everyone, welcome to the Evil Empire. I'm your host, Evil Empire, and this week on the feature, it's Blood Lotus. So this deck comes to us from the streamer Holy Diva. She had her deck tweeted out, and then later, after she tweeted it, it was also featured on Channel Fireball by Martin Yuza. So a deck that is looking to mostly control the game in the early going, relying heavily on spells like Abrade, Tail's End, and Jawari Disruption to try to keep our opponent more or less out of the game early on, hopefully not building up too much of a board. We're also trying to leverage the combination of Blood Sun and Lotus Field to get way ahead on mana, maybe as much as getting to have 6 mana on the board by turn 4. If we can play Blood Sun on turn 3 and then turn 4 drop the Lotus Field, or maybe like turn 4 Blood Sun into Lotus Field, would be even better for this deck, and then untapping on turn 5 with all 6 mana available, and something like perhaps a Sublime Epiphany up, or maybe a Torrential Gearhulk up, especially if you've been stocking your graveyard. I found that Search for Azcanta is also a really great way to stock the graveyard in this deck. Was one thing that the list that Holy Diva tweeted out did not have a Search for Azcanta, but that I think is a nice addition here. And of course, the combination of Narset plus Commit Memory is another one where we can really take the opponent to task and make them feel pretty bad about the situation. You know, we draw 7, they draw 1. So this deck is basically a control deck that is looking to ramp out Lotus Field and not actually have to pay the sacrifice 2 lands clause. You know, sometimes we could even do something like play Lotus Field and then Tail's End the trigger by going to full control mode. So basically anything that we can do to get ahead on mana. And probably the craziest way of winning in this deck is with the Teferi Hero of Dominaria emblem. So if you get the Teferi emblem out, what you really want to be able to do is play something like a Valakut Awakening, or you know, maybe even if you're really lucky, you get to use Memory when you have the Teferi emblem out, and then you draw so many cards, you just basically exile all of their lands with the emblem, and they can't play anymore. That's something that I had tweeted about earlier in the week, where I had basically pulled off the Teferi emblem plus Valakut Awakening against the same opponent in ranked twice in the same day. I know that it was the same person, not just because they had the same name, but the exact same deck even. This kind of weird white enchantments deck, like the, I think it was the 9 Lives combo deck, right? But wasn't really going to matter very much if they can't play any spells because they don't have any lands. So they never quite managed to beat this deck that day, but definitely the deck can go down really quickly if we're facing against like a Goblins deck, and then the board just gets out of control, or maybe an Elves deck and the board gets out of control. We really are going to struggle. So that's why we're really relying heavily on Sweltering Suns and Anger of the Gods to try to keep ourselves more or less from letting their side of the board get out of hand. Definitely want to try to sweep them as much as possible and get that gone. Also, this deck is probably going to struggle with bigger creatures or the Auras deck. The only thing that we really have to deal with in terms of spot removal, that's, you know, for like basically a 4 or greater toughness creature, is Commit Memory, which is not a great situation to be in. But you know, one thing that we can do with Commit Memory is like commit a problem card like a Questing Beast or something. We commit that back to their library, hopefully be able to counter it on the way back down with either a Tail's End or Sublime Epiphany or something like that. Maybe Torrential Gearhulk flashing back one of those counters. The last really good piece of tech in the deck is probably, well, I guess there's 2. Just talk first about Pact of Negation, which is a really excellent card in the deck. Just taking care of the things that you were already tapped out and couldn't take care of. And then probably the main win condition in the deck is Shark Typhoon. You want to be able to hopefully cast this for the enchantment side instead of cycling it. And then every counter spell, especially like the 6 mana ones that you play, like Sublime Epiphany, or even the 4 mana one with Commit Memory, Those will be making sharks of a big size, and you play it to fairy, make a 5/5 shark. That's a pretty good swing in your favor. Let's take a look and see how I do with the deck in the historic ranked queue. We'll take a look at it now. Yeah, we've got some early interaction here, just hoping to draw the third land. That's a keep. Okay, we drew it. Yeah, I guess I'd hope to be able to hang on to the Awakening. If I could actually play it for the spell, that'd be best. Maybe we'll draw another land off the top here. So we're facing the Sultai-Uro deck. Pretty common here on the old Ladderoonie. Huh. Well, that is interesting, isn't it? Okay, so this, and then they'll growth spiral end of my turn, or not. There's ye old Uro. Probably one of the biggest problem cards in Historic right now. Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. Not that Wizards cares about the format. Yeah, I guess we'll hang on to the Shark Typhoon, try to play it as the enchantment side. Alright. Well, we've got to make a choice here. I think I'm gonna do it, but I'm not all that happy about it. I'm gonna try to get out of it. Let's see if I can play disc. I don't think this is gonna work, but maybe if I play Lotus Field and then immediately play Discontinuity. Let's see. Does that work? Oh, it worked. Cool. Alright, so I get to go up to 6 mana now when they pass it back to me. Please no Nissa, please no Nissa. I can't believe that worked. I did not expect that to work. Dear audience. Yeah, the opponent a little bit stunned like myself that I pulled it off. Yeah, I always do that with Tail's End. I didn't realize you could do it with Discontinuity. Yeah, okay, so you ramp. Get your ramp on. Where's that second green? Come on. Do they have it? Yeah, there it is. Okay, Sweltering Suns doesn't seem great here, but playing this as a hard cast feels pretty good. Yeah, we're going to hang on to that. I know we should probably play it as a land, but I really want to wheel some of these cards away, like Sweltering Suns and a Braid. Alright, so the opponent on 6. And they just give up. Okay, well I guess they didn't have much. It's not the greatest thing I've ever seen, but yeah, I mean it has 3 lands at least. It doesn't cast Narset, but we'll give it a shot. Yeah, and all of these just enter tapped for days. This was a pretty bad keep. Might turn out to bite us. Okay, so we are playing control opponent, so Narset, value of Narset just goes like through the roof. Yeah, maybe we draw the untapped land and we get to keep the Valakut Awakening up. Probably we don't, and we just regret that. Alright, so opponent on some Grixis mana. Alright, we do draw the land, so it feels good. Get this countered. Okay. Okay. Thought seize from our opponent. taking the Typhoon, maybe? The Awakening? The Typhoon, okay. Castle Locthwain, Agonizing Remorse. Now they'll take the Valakut Awakening. Alright, well, it's pretty good from the opponent. But hopefully we get to Tail's End their 4-mana bolus. Oh boy. They have wishes. What are they going to get? Thought Distortion make me discard my hand? Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, let's play it. I mean, we're going to have to discard whatever we draw anyway, but at least we'll be set up pretty well for the following. Oh boy, Supreme Willed. Alright, well, it was a good game while it lasted, but our opponent's now going to make us discard our entire hand, so it's pretty much over. I don't think we end up coming back from this.
I have reached my limit.
We can at least cycle it. Cycle it, try to get a land. No. Just another Pact of Negation? Wow, okay. Getting beaten pretty bad here. Second Fae of Wishes gets what? This big thing? Okay. Yeah, well, we're obviously not going to be able to play 2 lands next turn, so... Yeah, should have just graveyarded that. What am I doing? Alright. I should just pack this and then lose, but...
No gods
I'll play it out.
Protect you now. Show respect for your god, Pharaoh. Oh no. All your
Alright, so they get to draw 3 off of this. Alright, I mean, I think I'm pretty much done at this point. They can just have this game. No. Can't keep that one. Yeah, okay. Not super happy about it, but just put back Sublime Epiphany and pray that we can do the Lotus Field Tail's End trick. Alright, so we're Gruul opponent. Okay. That's good. Yeah, we'll pay the life. Let's save Tail's End for a Questing Beast. A Braid we're going to save for whatever this is. Yeah, the Gallia, sure. 3 damage to Gallia. Okay. Keep your board nice and clean. So go to full control. Tail's End. Well, yeah, we were going to save the Tail's End anyway. We're going to use it on this Lotus Field the whole time, right? Questing Beast. Yeah, that's probably what's going to get us here. Alright, so we go to the next turn with a possible 6 mana. God, I wish I had that Sublime Epiphany still and not this Anger. Yeah, and they screw us over anyway by doing that, yeah. That's perfect, right? Okay. So we're screwed. Past the turn, being screwed. Big trouble here. Definitely need to find something off these cycles. No Embercleave? That's rare. So they have Coco up. Which they're going to save their Coco until the end of our turn. Okay, so what do? We Teferi Spellbreaker back to their deck, but then they just put it back out there with... Anyway. Yeah, so that's pretty terrible. We need this, and we need to hit commit to memory.
The past, present, and hone your prowess.
Yeah, which we don't do. Okay, well, at least there's this to put down. But I mean, I'm just gonna die after this, so it's not gonna matter much. Do this, because why not? They did not have Coco. Okay, that's weird. Now, they're not gonna kill Narset, I don't think. Embercleave. I'm surprisingly dead. Yeah, just flat Exacxies. Basically, Embercleave off the top is the death knell for this one, for this deck. Yeah, this is a fine hand. We're going to keep this hand. So lead on the Ralgren Triome. Opponent is mono white with probably auras, since they have Selfless Savior, probably the auras deck. Okay, so Sulfur Falls. Pass with a Braid up. Okay, so what do we want to do here? Resolve Daxos. They move to combat, but they don't attack. Really weird. Alright, let's make them sack their doggy. Sack the Selfless Savior to keep their Daxos. No, they're not going to do that. Okay. Alright, that's a little weird. I'm not going to lie. It's a little weird. They're saving it for something, right? What are they saving it for? They're saving it for their second Daxos? Okay. Well, notably no Heliod yet. Yeah, I think after we use the sweeper, we're gonna probably want to go find another one. So let's see what they save. They might save the Daxos here. So they have to sack their savior, but shouldn't be a problem because they can just grab it back with Loris or something, right? Oh, they're gonna save the Hawk. Okay, so then that means they have the Heliod next. No, Gideon.
This is a prime day for justice.
I'm not sure how much we can do about Gideon. We're kind of out of luck with him.
I believe in you, friend.
Yeah, as much as this hurts, I think we have to keep it.
Mind and body should move in unison. Meditate and prepare.
Okay, a braid is good. Get this out of the way. Now, obviously, we lose Narset here.
I've got you.
So Narset dies to Gideon. Why would the opponent play a Baffling in there? Are they just trying to get their devotion up for Heliod,
This
maybe? I
was
don't know.
overwhelming.
Mistake, possibly? Yeah, we need the land. Alright, so
You
sit
hold
back,
no
take
power
5.
over me.
Feels bad. Yeah, okay, I guess it was for devotion for Heliod.
Your light will cleave the darkness.
Well, it's not going to do much for us right now, I don't think. Let's graveyard it. That might be the wrong move, but I don't know. Okay, second Narset feels good. And then we will Sublime Epiphany them pre-combat, or do we just do it now so we can keep our... Really want to keep... Well, if they activate Gideon, which they're not going to do, we can always Sublime Epiphany in response and counter that activation. Oh, okay, so then we'll just have to do this. This. What would we like to reset here? I think we'd like to reset the Gideon. I'll draw a card. Okay, Sweltering Suns feels good. That's going to get rid of the Hawk for us. Next turn. What are we at in the graveyard? 6 in the graveyard. I really need this in the graveyard to flip the Azcanta. I really want it, but I really need it in the graveyard. Oh, and of course that would be what I would draw, right? Alright, so deal a bunch of damage. Play an Narset. Yeah, and I can't discontinuity the Lotus field until next turn.
My prowess is on. I have just the trick for this.
We need the Teferi. And that way we tuck the... Yeah, I'm just gonna hang on to Lotus field and pray that I can discontinuity it at some point.
I will defend the weak at every opportunity.
They need one more thing to be able to turn on Heliod, and they can't do it. Feels good. Okay.
Keep an open mind.
Grab the Tail's End. Play the Tef. Plus on it. Or, no, do we just tuck Gideon?
I won't hide from the world any
Yeah,
longer.
I think we have to tuck Gideon.
Let's take it back.
Let's just play Cylinder Division, and then we'll leave up the Tail's End in case they have you know, a reason for us to play it, like another Ajani. And the opponent wants no part of it now that we have resolved Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. Feels good. Feels good. And I'm back with Blood Lotus. The deck has performed very well for me on the historic ranked ladder in the platinum range of ranks. I felt like it's very competitive against a lot of different decks and can, you know, using a Braid, using some of the sweepers, can definitely cut through the aggro decks pretty hard if you're able to draw your sweeper or your Braid. Now, there are certainly games, and I don't think I died to aggro in this particular video, but there are games where you just flat get run over by elves, or you flat out get run over by goblins, or you flat out get run over by mono red. But, you know, a lot of the time you are able to fight back with Sweltering Suns, Anger of the Gods, and the cool thing about Sweltering Suns is that it just cycles away. When we're playing a control opponent, we get a little bit of a ability to cycle that away, and it just helps immensely with smoothing out our draw and finding land drops if we're playing control opponent. The other card that I was really impressed with was Discontinuity. Only a one-of in Holy Diva's version of this deck, and by the way, big shout out to Holy Diva, Twitch streamer. If you're not already following her and her streams, please make sure you do. She's a European streamer out of Spain, so you can catch her streams in the mornings on the East Coast in the U.S. So, like, you know, she on the U.S. East Coast time, she's running from like 3 a.m. to 10 a.m. So if you happen to be around in the mornings and you want a great streamer like Holy Diva, you should definitely tune in. And big thanks to her for tweeting the deck, by the way. But I was impressed that with Discontinuity, I was not aware that I could use it on my turn to basically get rid of the downside of Lotus Field. Being able to just end the turn, exile that trigger from the stack was something that I did finally for the first time during this video. And I was not even aware that it was possible to do. So it was kind of a cool thing to figure out. I feel like this deck is a fun puzzle. A lot of times you're sort of wending your way through some pretty complicated decision trees, and definitely the sweetest move that I pulled off was being able to play Valakut Awakening when I had a Teferi emblem out. Just exiling a whole slew of permanents, you know, exiling 5 permanents at a time was one of the coolest things that this deck did, and it performed a number of different cool endgames. Most of those endgames for me centered around Shark Typhoon, just a hard cast Shark Typhoon. which is a pretty strong play with this particular build, because then you're going to be, following it up with some Teferi Hero of Dominaria, making a 5/5 Shark, and getting a 5 loyalty Planeswalker after you plus it the first time. Just incredibly game-breaking plays like that. And then the other big end game that I don't think I pulled off in this set of games in the video, but is a really game-breaking end game, is the commit to memory combination with Narset. You draw 7, they draw 1, and it's just a total blowout. As far as changes that I might think about for the deck, I feel like it's pretty well tuned. If you weren't aware of it, originally this was an Is It deck that Holy Diva converted to Jeskai to be able to play Teferi, and I think, man, the ability to be able to, at the end of your turn, untap 2 Lotus Fields for 6 mana, hold up Sublime Epiphany or hold up Torrential Gear Hulk, is just complete control over the game. So there have been some times where it just felt completely dominating because you are really hard in control of the game. So if you are a fan of control decks, if you are a fan of some strange combos in your control decks, the Lotus Field Blood Sun combo has been around in Historic for a long time. It dates back to the Scape Shift days, when people were figuring out ways to combat the Scape Shift deck that had just rotated out of Standard and was being played in Historic. This would have been around the time that Dominaria rotated out, like Dominaria and M19 rotated out. So like right after M20 Standard, going into, gosh, what would have been like Eldraine Standard, I think, in 2019. Right around that time period, people were already playing Blood Sun in Historic as a way to combat Field of the Dead. But what I think now people have figured out as well is that it just has this crazy ability to ramp you. If you can go like turn 4 Blood Sun with Lotus Field in your hand, and then as your land drop for turn 4, you drop Lotus Field and you just immediately bump yourself to 6 from 3. That's a huge swing. And the ways that you can get around the downside of Lotus Field are not just limited to Blood Sun with this deck. As you saw, I'm able to Tails End the trigger, so I don't have to pay the downside of sacrificing the 2 lands. Even as I figured out earlier and mentioned, Discontinuity on my turn is a way for 2 mana, 1 colorless, 1 blue, to be able to get rid of the downside of Lotus Field. So those little ways of ramping, combined with Teferi untapping Lotus Field, it doesn't even have to be 2 Lotus Fields. It could just be 1, and that's a huge deal, because then you're able to hold up a commit side of commit to memory with that Lotus Field and that 1 other mana that you untapped with Teferi, which is a really great catch-all counterspell. And I think one of the things that I forgot about from when this card was in Standard, commit to memory is just a great catch-all answer. You can use it on a core Spirit Dancer that has a bunch of auras stacked up on it. You can use it on any kind of troublesome permanent that is giving you a hard time, that you were not able to counter with Tails End, that you're not able to counter with Pact of Negation or Jawari Disruption, because the counter suite's pretty limited in this deck. The other thing that Discontinuity can do for us, and Commit to Memory doesn't quite have this ability, but it does have the ability to pretty badly time walk them with the memory side combined with Narset. Discontinuity can also work like an extra turn spell. You can use it for 6 mana instant speed, take an extra turn by just setting a stop on the opponent's upkeep, playing Discontinuity on their upkeep, and skipping their entire turn. If you want to, you can also let them waste a card. So don't set the stop on upkeep if you want them to waste a card. Just play Discontinuity. You know that if you really know for sure that they're going to play a spell pre-combat, like they're going to play a haste creature or something, you can wait until they play that haste creature, ambush them with Discontinuity when that creature's on the stack, like a Zertog Goblin or a Questing Beast or what have you. Any kind of haster that you know for certain that they have. Then you can just exile that spell off the stack and get yourself an extra turn without skipping their combat step and getting right back to your turn. So a number of tricky little plays that you can make like that, little combos here and there that really make this deck fun to pilot. I think that the fun part of this deck in particular is in the details. So that's going to be it for this week on the Historic feature. I really enjoyed playing Blood Lotus, and big thanks again for Holy Diva tweeting the deck. Definitely check out Holy Diva's streams on Twitch if you haven't already. Go follow her and enjoy her streaming. This deck is something that, if you feel up to spending the wild cards on Blood Sun, which is not a card that you're going to play a whole ton of other places, definitely one you should check out. So thanks for hanging out this week. I look forward to seeing you again next week. This is Evil Empire signing off.